Hi, Professor Groundland here, just making a few introductory comments about the proteins. Proteins are the most complex of the biological molecules, and they carry out the most diverse functions. Everything from carrying oxygen and facilitating chemical reactions to transporting substances across cell membranes and muscle contraction. From hormones to collagen, they are really amazing molecules. Just like carbohydrates, proteins are polymers. In the case of proteins, the monomer is an amino acid. Just like in carbs, the monomers are going to be joined by condensation or dehydration synthesis reactions, and they are separated by hydrolysis. In the case of proteins, condensation forms a peptide bond. The complexity of proteins arises from having 20 different amino acids with very different chemical properties. All amino acids have a central carbon, a carboxyl group, a hydrogen, and a nitrogen group. That's called the amine group. It's where it gets its name from. They also have an R group or side chain. These groups may be polar or nonpolar, acidic or basic. So you can see how different proteins could end up with very different chemical properties. With 20 different amino acids, we can make a large variety of proteins that have very different functions. Think about it. On average, a protein will have a chain of 300 amino acids. That's double the average word length of a typical paragraph. We have 26 different letters in our alphabet. How many different paragraphs with different meanings can you write with our 26 letters? That complexity leads us to discuss protein structure at different levels. The primary structure level is just the order of the amino acids in the protein, like the order of the words in your paragraph. That primary structure is coded for by your DNA. You can think of your DNA as an instruction book. It tells your cells what order to put the amino acids in each protein. We use the processes of transcription and translation to make those proteins. Each protein has a unique primary structure, so each one requires a set of instructions. The instructions are called genes. Imagine that your instructions were wrong. Then you can't make the protein correctly. For example, you remember our discussion about the different kinds of lipid carriers, chylomicrons, VLDLs, LDLs, HDLs? If you inherit faulty genes for making the LDL receptor, you will end up with familial hypercholesterolemia. That receptor allows LDLs to be removed from the blood. Without them, cholesterol builds up in the blood and your risk for cardiovascular disease increases. So you can see how good instructions for that primary structure of your proteins is essential. The secondary level of organization is just the twists or the folds in small sections of the protein. The tertiary structure is the overall three-dimensional shape of the protein. This is often essential for the proper functioning of the protein. We're going to see that discussed with enzymes in the metabolism chapter. All proteins have a primary, secondary, and tertiary structure. Some proteins consist of more than one chain of amino acids, so they have an additional quaternary structure. That refers to how the chains fit together. Just one other thing I want to mention about amino acids related to nutrition. Some of the amino acids we can make. They are non-essential. But others we cannot make. They are essential nutrients. They must be in the food you eat in order to be available for your cells to make proteins. If you eat foods from animals, things like chicken, fish, eggs, milk, cheese, you will be getting all of the essential amino acids. These are considered complete sources of protein. If you eat a strictly plant-based diet, you need to be a little bit more careful about your food combinations, just to be sure that you are getting all the essential amino acids. In general, plants are incomplete sources of protein. Exceptions are quinoa and soy, and a few other less frequently eaten foods such as buckwheat and chia seeds. Food complementation, for example, eating beans and rice, corn and beans, easily allows people who are on plant-based diets to get all of those essential amino acids. In addition to all of this important chemistry, you're also going to be looking at the digestion and absorption of amino acids, the AMDRs, and different protein deficiency disorders. As always, let me know if you have questions.